Hello and welcome. The news is coming to you from News and Current Affairs Al Umma Television, situated in here, the Southern Forest State capital. First, our headlines. The Forest State government commences medical outreach on critical illness in the state. NUG calls on the federal government to redouble its effort in the fight against banditry and its activities in the state. 10 people dead as mosque collapses during Jumu'at prayer in Zaria. Defense headquarters denies receiving coup requests from Nigerians. And Nigeria coup junta agrees to dialogue with ECOWAS. Now the full stories. As part of the efforts to rescue the state from all endeavors, the Forest State Governor Dauda Lawal has approved the commencement of medical outreach in some critical healthcare sectors in the state. This was contained in a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to the Governor, Suleiman Bala, and made available to newsmen in Gusau, the state capital. Umar Mudassir has more on the story.
The first phase of the medical outreach, in collaboration with the Office of the First Lady of Zamfara State, Hajia Huriya Dauda Lawal, is set to provide free medical services to people with cases that require cataract extraction, swollen groin, hernia and hydrocele, vesicovaginal fistula, repairs and health education. Suleiman explained that the special outreach is designed to cover 1,000 patients with swollen groins, 200 vesicovaginal fistula repairs, and 1,000 patients with ear cataract every month. He also stated that the state government has also set up a committee of experts that has conducted assessment of various service centers in the state to identify the most common surgical problems prevalent in the general population. The centers for outreach are General Hospital Gusau, Kim Fahad, and Yarima Bakura Specialist Hospital, adding that all special cases will be referred to the Federal Medical Center in Gusau during the program. Mudassir Umar Foti, Al Umma News.
And thank you, Mudassir. The Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ Zamfara State Council, has called on Governor Dauda Lawal to redouble his efforts in addressing banditry and other insecurity issues bedeviling the state. This was contained in a communique signed by the state chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Comrade Ibrahim Mizari, and made available to newsmen in Gusau, the state capital. According to the statement, the NUG has expressed worry over the re-emergence of banditry in the state that impacted on the lives of innocent people. The Congress regretted the return of insistent attacks and other forms of insecurity across the state and its negative impact on the people, while calling on the state and federal governments to strengthen their collaboration in addressing the menace. The union also commended the present administration of Governor Dauda Lawal for initiating State Security Trust Fund as part of the measures towards addressing the security situation in the state. Therefore, advised the government to immediately set up a social security committee with memberships that involved stakeholders like traditional rulers, retired security personnel, in order to bring an end to insecurity issues in the state. The number of people that died from a mosque collapse in Zaria in Kaduna State has risen to 10, with 7 critically injured according to reports. It will be recalled that the incidents occurred on Friday when Muslim worshippers were observing their evening prayers. The Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, who confirmed the incident, said the worshippers were in the second sujood prayer when suddenly the affected portion of the mosque collapsed on those sitting directly at that section. Bamali further explained that the victims were covered by debris from the wall built with mud which had been in existence for the past 150 years. He, however, directed the worshippers to pray outside the mosque pending when the repair works will be carried out. Meanwhile, the Kaduna State Governor, Uba Sani, has expressed sadness over the death of some victims of the incident. The governor, who spoke through his chief press secretary, Muhammad Salihu at the funeral of the victims, commiserated with their families and the entire people of Zazzau Emirate, praying their repose for their souls and quick recovery of the injured. Now, this is coming to you from Al Umma Television here in Gusau, Zamfara State Capital. Before we go for a short break, a reminder of our major headlines. Zamfara State Government commences medical outreach on critical illness in the state. NUG calls on Zamfara State Government to redouble its efforts in the fight against banditry, its activities in the state. 10 people dead as mosque collapsed during Jumu'at prayer in Zaria. In part 2, when we return, Defense Headquarters denies receiving coup requests from Nigerians, and Niger junta coup agrees to dialogue with ECOWAS. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back in a moment.
Al'umma TV, nagari na kowa.
Thank you for joining us back. Now the rest of the stories. Nigerian Defense Headquarters said it has not received any coup allegations request against the democratically elected government in the country. This was contained in a statement signed by the Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Tukur Ismail Gusau, and made available to newsmen in Abuja. Nigeria coup leader General Abdurrahman Tiani has expressed his willingness to engage in dialogue with the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. This came after Tiani meeting with a delegation of Nigeria's Islamic scholars led by Sheikh Abdullahi Balalau, the national leader of Jama'atul Izalatul Bid'ah wa Iqamatus Sunnah Jibris, the Niger Republic. That's the news, but before we go, a look at our headlines. The Zamfara State Government commences medical outreach on critical illness in the state. NUG calls on the Zamfara State Government to redouble its effort in the fight against banditry and its activities in the state. Defense Headquarters denies receiving coup requests from Nigerians, and Niger coup junta agrees to dialogue with ECOWAS. Be a patriotic citizen, report any suspicious activities around you, say no to political thuggery. On behalf of the production